On a bright yet chilly morning in the heart of the city's financial district, where glass towers scraped the sky and luxury cars glided over polished streets, a small girl pushed open the massive doors of the Grand Crest Bank. Her name was Arya Nolan. Dust smudged her cheeks, and exhaustion sat heavy in her eyes. In her trembling hands, she clutched a worn-out white bank card, holding it the way someone holds onto their very last hope. Sunlight flooded the grand lobby through towering windows, but even in all that brilliance, Arya seemed like a shadow, fragile, unsure, and painfully out of place among the marble floors and towering columns. As she stepped inside, heads turned. Not out of kindness, but confusion, surprise, and quiet judgment. All Arya wanted was something simple. She wanted to check her balance. If you believe kindness can change a life, and if you stand for second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Vibes Hub. Your support helps us spread hope and positivity in a world that needs it now more than ever. Arya's journey to the bank hadn't begun with courage. It had begun with desperation. For the past 2 days, she had wandered the city with only a few coins in her pocket. Her gray shirt was torn, her jeans too big, hanging loosely on her small frame. Before her mother passed away, she had given Arya one instruction: keep this card safe. Arya had protected that little white card for years, never knowing what it truly meant. Today, with hunger twisting her stomach and strangers turning away from her on the streets, she finally gathered the courage to find out. Was the card a miracle her mother had left behind? Or was it nothing at all? Inside the bank, the atmosphere buzzed with a kind of energy Arya had never experienced. Digital screens flashed stock numbers and rising graphs. Employees in tailored suits rushed past, balancing files and coffee cups. Phones rang endlessly. Every corner of the building radiated wealth and power. And at the center of it all sat Maxwell Grant, one of the city's most powerful investment tycoons. His booming laughter echoed through the hall as he spoke confidently with his advisors. He was a man accustomed to control, success, and admiration. Very little ever caught his attention. Until he saw Arya. She stood quietly at the customer service desk, nervously sliding her card forward. The banker behind the counter, Elena Rohr, froze the moment she noticed the girl's condition. Conversations softened. Eyes followed. Some filled with concern, others with disbelief, and a few with clear irritation. No one knew it yet. But this small moment was about to change everything. Arya's voice was barely audible as she explained what she needed. Her words trembled, not from the cold, but from fear. Elena offered her a gentle smile, one filled with warmth rather than judgment, and softly guided her toward Maxwell Grant's private section of the bank. His exclusive terminal had access to deeper archives, old accounts most systems could no longer reach. Arya didn't know any of this. She followed only because she needed answers. Because she needed to know if she truly had anything left in this world. Maxwell watched her approach with mild amusement. To him, it looked like a misunderstanding, maybe even a publicity stunt. He leaned back in his chair, letting out a quiet chuckle as the small, worn-out girl stepped forward and placed the card on the counter. It was old. Faded. A debit card that had clearly survived more years than it should have. Maxwell shook his head, a smirk forming on his face. A billionaire investment magnate being asked to check the balance of a homeless child, it felt absurd. Almost laughable. But Arya wasn't laughing. Her hands trembled as she stood there. Her eyes flickered across the room, catching every stare, some curious, some judgmental. She didn't want attention. She didn't want sympathy. She just wanted the truth. The room slowly grew quiet as Maxwell inserted the card into the terminal. And then, everything changed. The smile vanished from his face. His brows tightened as he leaned closer to the screen, rereading the numbers as if they might change. His advisor stepped forward, curiosity turning into shock. Elena froze, her breath caught in her chest. The balance wasn't empty. It wasn't small. It wasn't normal. It was enormous. Years ago, Arya's mother had worked at a small community center. That was where she met Victor Hale, a kind, aging entrepreneur with no family of his own. Grateful for the care and compassion Arya's mother showed him during his final months, Victor quietly made a decision. Without ever telling them, he created a trust fund in Arya's name. The account grew year after year, untouched, carefully invested, protected by instructions Victor had left behind. He believed that one day, when Arya needed it most, she would find her way to it. And today, she had. Maxwell stared at the screen, realization crashing over him. The child standing before him wasn't just someone in need. She was one of the wealthiest individuals he had ever encountered. Wealth she never knew existed. Wealth powerful enough to change her life forever. For the first time in years, Maxwell Grant felt truly humbled. Completely silent. The girl he had nearly laughed at now owned a fortune that rivaled even some of his most elite clients. Slowly, he stood from his chair. When he looked at Arya again, there was no pity in his eyes, only respect. Arya didn't understand the numbers on the screen. She only knew that something had changed. Maxwell no longer looked amused. He looked human. Elena knelt beside her and gently explained the truth. As the words sank in, Arya's lips parted in disbelief. Tears filled her eyes. She wasn't alone anymore. She wasn't helpless. Her mother had left her something greater than money, security, hope, and a future. The bank buzzed with whispers as people processed what they had witnessed. Maxwell, once known for his arrogance, now helped Arya gather her things. He offered her food, water, and promised that his best advisors would protect her interests until a proper guardian was appointed. Arya nodded quietly, overwhelmed, clutching the card that had just transformed her life. Sunlight still streamed through the tall windows, but to Arya, the world felt different, warmer, brighter, and finally safe. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Vibes Hub. Your support helps us spread hope and kindness to those who need it most. Before the story ends, tell us in the comments. What would you do if you discovered a miracle when you least expected it? As Arya stepped out of the Grand Crest Bank later that afternoon, golden daylight wrapping around her, a small smile appeared on her face, for the first time in years. The world could be cruel. The world could be cold. But sometimes, hidden in the most unexpected places, were gifts left behind by those who loved us. Gifts powerful enough to change everything. And that day, Arya carried hers close to her heart, knowing her life was no longer defined by fear, but by possibility.